Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we're taking a deep dive into one of international soccer's most historic and honestly most evenly matched rivalries. We're looking ahead to the massive 2026 World Cup round of 16 clash at AT&T Stadium, where bordering neighbors and fierce rivals Portugal and Spain are set to collide. But, before they take the pitch on Monday, we're going to look really closely at the astonishingly tight historical data between these two nations. And trust me, the numbers here tell a story you absolutely need to hear.
Here's our quick agenda for today's Explainer. We've got 1. The 2026 World Cup clash. 2. 41 matches, 18 draws. 3. The modern stalemate trend. 4. Past World Cup encounters. And finally, 5. Top Iberian goal scorers.
Section 1, the 2026 World Cup clash. Neighbors collide. Okay, let's dive into this and see exactly where these two teams stand right now as they prep for Monday's high-stakes knockout match. Both of these national squads have the massive potential to win the entire competition. But honestly, both had a kind of turbulent summer. They both stumbled to opening draws against lesser opposition before finally finding their footing. To really understand the momentum heading into AT&T Stadium, we have to contrast their immediate paths to this round of 16. Spain comes in as the slight favorite, right? They breezy past Austria in the round of 32, showcasing that classic, controlling style we've come to expect from La Roja. On the flip side, Portugal's path was, well, it was much more of a high-wire act. The Silly Sao needed a last-gasp winner to bypass an incredibly spirited Croatia team. But make no mistake, while Spain might be the odds-makers' favorite, Portugal still possesses a totally devastating arsenal of attacking weapons. They are absolutely capable of flipping a game in a single moment. Section 2, 41 matches, 18 draws, the macro stats. All right, now that we know how they got here in 2026, we need to zoom out. To really understand the DNA of this rivalry, we've got to look at the macro data stretching all the way back over a century to their very first meeting in 1921. Here is the sledgehammer stat that sets the foundation for our analysis today. These two familiar foes have played a staggering 41 total matches against each other prior to this upcoming 2026 encounter. 41 times, these neighbors have crossed the white lines to battle for Iberian supremacy 41 times. That is an enormous sample size of data for us to draw from.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core mystery of the matchup. Out of those 41 total matches, Spain holds 17 wins and Portugal has 6. But look at that massive slice representing 18 historical draws. Think about that for a second. When Portugal and Spain meet, being completely inseparable is actually the most common outcome. They're just so familiar with each other's tactics and styles that they frequently just neutralize one another.
To give you an idea of just how entrenched this gridlock can get, the data shows an incredible stretch between 1984 and 2002. Over almost 2 decades, they played 5 successive matches that all ended without a winner. I mean, for nearly 20 years, these neighbors literally couldn't settle an argument on the pitch if they tried. It's a historical pattern of intense, unbreakable tension. Now, you might think things have opened up in the modern era, right? Well, not exactly. Section 3. The modern stalemate trend, gridlock. If anything, their penchant for playing to a total standstill has only intensified in recent years. What's truly astonishing here is the sheer repetition. Amazingly, 6 of their last 7 clashes have ended all square after 90 minutes. We've got the goalless semifinal at Euro 2012, that wild 3-3 draw at the 2018 World Cup, back-to-back 0-0 friendlies in 2020 and 2021, and a 1-1 tie in the 2022-23 Nations League. This is a modern era defined by absolute gridlock. We only have to rewind about 13 months to the Allianz Arena in Munich to see this dynamic play out yet again. In the 24-25 UEFA Nations League final, regulation time ended, yep, you guessed it, in a 2-2 draw. Spain took leads through Martin Zubamendi and Miguel Oyarzabal, but Portugal just kept matching them with strikes from Nuno Mendes and, of course, international soccer's all-time leading goal scorer Cristiano Ronaldo. It literally took a penalty shootout to finally separate them, with Ruben Neves sealing only Portugal's 6th ever win over Spain, right after Alvaro Morata's penalty was saved by Diogo Costa. Section 4, past World Cup encounters, the fireworks. And that brings us perfectly to the biggest stage of them all, the World Cup. Now, despite 105 years of history and those 41 matches played, they have only crossed paths at this specific tournament twice before. But let me tell you, when they do, it always delivers fireworks. So the crucial point here is how incredibly rare these World Cup matchups actually are. Their first meeting wasn't even until the 2010 round of 16, which is the exact same stage they meet at in 2026. Spain won that match 1-0 en route to their first world title thanks to a second-half goal from David Villa, a goal that remarkably stood in the pre-VAR era despite him pretty clearly being in an offside position. Then, 8 years later, they met again in the 2018 group stage, resulting in that enthralling 3-3 draw we mentioned a minute ago. That 2018 match, that is a modern classic that absolutely deserves its own spotlight. It was pure chaos from start to finish. Ronaldo scored a penalty after just 4 minutes to set the tone. Then, Diego Costa equalized 20 minutes later. Right before halftime, a rare error by David De Gea allowed Ronaldo to score again. But wait, Costa leveled it up a second time, right after the break. That set the stage for defender Nacho Fernandez to hit an unbelievable screaming volley from the edge of the area to put Spain ahead. It was stunning. But then, in the 81st minute, with the pressure at an absolute maximum, Ronaldo completely refused to be outshined. He completed his hat trick with an inch-perfect free kick right into the top corner. Just a true masterclass in a match literally nobody will ever forget. Section 5, Top Iberian Goal Scorers, the Legends. Let's move to and see how this builds our understanding of the individuals who actually define this rivalry. Defenses usually dominate when these two meet, for sure, so the players who actually manage to consistently find the back of the net, they are true legends. This historic leaderboard gives you a beautiful mix of titans of the past and modern phenoms. At the very top, from a bygone era, sits Spain's Isidro Longera with an incredible 9 goals. He's followed closely by Portugal's Fernando Peirotio with 7 and Spain's Telmo Zarra with 6. Then we have Cristiano Ronaldo sitting there at 4 goals. What's amazing to remember here is that Ronaldo scored 3 of his 4 career goals against La Roja in that single spectacular 2018 World Cup match we just walked through. And that brings us right back to the present moment, guys. 41 matches played, 18 historical draws. 6 of their last 7 games tied after 90 minutes. History tells us that these two nations are practically mirrors of one another, locked in a perpetual Iberian stalemate. But in knockout football, someone has to win. So as they step onto the grass at AT&T Stadium for the 2026 World Cup round of 16, what do you think? Who will be the one to finally break the gridlock? Thank you so much for checking out this explainer. Enjoy the match, and let's see how history unfolds.